Caitlin Clark got a little get back at Kelsey Plum.
She was taking a shot.
Could not help but to drag Caitlin Clark through the glass as she did it.
0 members of Team Clark were very present for that.
The WNBA is on a hot streak. They're finally turning.
What unfolded just minutes ago has sent shockwaves across the entire WNBA, and somewhere right now, Kelsey Plum is likely feeling completely gutted because Caitlin Clark just dismantled her in the most ruthless, calculated manner we have ever witnessed in women's basketball. I am still trying to process it, because this was not simple revenge. It was a blueprint showing how to fully outthink, outplay, and expose someone who tried to damage your reputation. And make no mistake, Plum did not just lose, she was taken out completely. Before we break down this total collapse, hit that like button if you are standing with Caitlin all the way, because once you understand what really went down, there is no way you will still be supporting Plum.
Losers, and you have sore winner, and Kelsey Plum is both.
We want to blow them out. We're a lot better than
watching for the league. We're really watching for Caitlin Clark. Everyone's going to be making more because of Caitlin Clark.
Caitlin Clark is the one bringing in the numbers.
Well, there's one.
Let's go back to where all of this truly began, because this was not some minor, random conflict. It was rooted in envy, subtle sabotage, and one player's effort to overshadow the brightest star the WNBA has ever seen. It all started at the WNBA All-Star Game, an event meant to highlight camaraderie and celebrate women's basketball at its peak. Instead, it became one of the most uncomfortable, jealousy-driven moments the sport has witnessed. At that time, players were supporting the Pay Us What You Owe Us movement, advocating for fairer salaries. And honestly, that part was completely justified. These athletes deserve proper compensation. But this is where Kelsey Plum showed her hand and executed what might be the most calculated misstep of her career. During a press conference, with cameras flashing and the entire basketball world watching, Plum opted to make a thinly veiled jab at Caitlin Clark while avoiding the courage to say her name outright.
But 0 members of Team Clark were very present for that.
Or her actually making comments about Caitlin Clark's team not being at this meeting for the CB.
She delivered this carefully crafted comment claiming that none of the players on Team Clark were truly involved. A clear move targeting the league's salary discussions and player activism. The audacity of it was astounding. She singled out the very player who has brought more attention, revenue, and exposure to the WNBA than anyone in its 28-year history, and attempted to portray her as self-absorbed and detached from her teammates. The act was so obvious, so deliberate, and frankly, so foolish that even people unfamiliar with basketball could grasp exactly what she was doing. What makes it worse is the reality of the situation. Clark wasn't even at the All-Star Game. She was at home recovering and managing her own circumstances. She had no obligation to perform just to fuel fans' reactions over Clark's dominance. Supports player activism.
Caitlin Clark, during that whole thing about Team Clark wasn't very present.
I thought that was a little dig at Caitlin. A lot of people definitely thought so.
Plum, she was taking a shot at Caitlin Clark's situation involving the Pay Us What You Owe.
She has literally transformed the entire women's basketball landscape, attracting millions of new fans, boosting the sport's profile, and playing a key role in making the WNBA financially stable in ways it never has been before. And yet Plum still had the nerve to question her commitment. The disrespect was extreme, but what came next was even more satisfying. The backlash was immediate and fierce. Just watch Sabrina Ionescu's reaction during that press conference. The unease was clear across her face as the reality sank in about what Plum had just triggered. Even analyst Stacey King didn't hold back, noting how dangerous it is to take shots at the league's golden star. And he was right. The numbers tell the story. Since Caitlin Clark's debut, TV ratings have soared, merchandise is selling rapidly, ticket prices are rising quickly, and expansion fees have jumped from $50 million to $250 million almost overnight. She's the league's top bargaining asset in salary negotiations. Yet, Plum chose to publicly attack the WNBA's most valuable player. But this is where Caitlin Clark proved she's more than just a leader on the court.
That Caitlin Clark didn't join in on the T-shirt discussion.
This week they wore T-shirts saying, making a statement, you better pay us. But instead of just leaving it at that, Kelsey Plum for LA had to take a dig at Caitlin Clark. Here she is.
The t-shirt, just United Front was determined this morning that we had a meeting for. And, not to tattletale, but 0 members of Team Clark were very present.
She's a strategic mastermind operating on a level most people can't even perceive, playing chess while everyone else is stuck on checkers. Rather than firing back with a careless press remark or engaging in a social media battle, Clark executed the ultimate power move. She remained silent. She let patience and stillness serve her purpose. She continued to dominate headlines without stepping on the court and waited for the exact right moment to respond. And when that opportunity came, it struck like a wrecking ball. Shortly after the controversy, Clark announced a massive global deal with Nike, once again proving that major corporations are competing just to associate with her name. While Plum concentrated on bringing her down, Clark was building her empire. The decisive moment came when Clark noticed Plum posting images from a Nike event, even though Plum had signed with Under Armour, Nike's direct competitor. That's when Clark delivered a perfectly timed, razor-sharp comment that set the internet ablaze. Thanks for the Nike ad. Brands are lining up with open checkbooks, and she's earning well over 7 figures from endorsements alone. While some longtime players are still struggling for recognition, the corporate world sees what many doubters refuse to accept. Clark isn't just the future, she's the present, and she's the driving force behind the sport finally receiving the recognition and financial support it's long deserved. Since that Instagram remark, Kelsey Plum has gone completely silent, likely realizing she challenged someone operating on an entirely different level. The same player who tried to paint Clark as selfish and disengaged ended up being outclassed by someone who knows that true influence doesn't need noise. It simply exists and lets results speak. Clark's reach is so enormous that even a subtle social media comment becomes headline news, while Plum's attempts to stay relevant barely register. But this story goes beyond a personal feud between two athletes. It reflects a larger effort by certain WNBA veterans to control and slow Caitlin Clark's rapid rise, and it's failing spectacularly. Before Clark's arrival, the league struggled with low viewership, limited media attention, and expansion costs that were modest in comparison. Social media now erupts over today's stats. Games were often played in half-empty arenas with minimal national attention. Before Clark, the WNBA faced poor sales, empty venues, and no profitability. Then everything changed. Ratings surged, jerseys sold out, ticket prices climbed, media deals expanded, and expansion fees skyrocketed. Nearly every positive shift in the league traces back to her impact. Yet, instead of embracing this growth, some veterans respond with thinly veiled envy and resistance. What they fail to understand is simple. Clark's success elevates everyone. Higher viewership means higher salaries, better resources, and genuine influence for the league. She's the catalyst they've been resisting. And throughout it all, Clark has shown why she's more than an exceptional player. She's a leader who understands power, timing, and the long game. She avoids drama and turns criticism into momentum. Fans see it. The statistics prove it. And history is being written in real time.